This past weekend, we talked about how to navigate conflict. What were Jesus' instructions? First, go privately. Second, point out the issue. Second, if that doesn't work, get help and have another conversation where witnesses can be there or outside perspectives can help you navigate it. If that doesn't work, bring it to the church. But the goal is restoration. The right approach can help restore relationships rather than ruin them. So instead of jumping in and just trying to figure it out or doing what we've always done or doing it the way that we were raised or whatever we did on the playground when we were young, like instead follow Jesus' instructions. But I also think there's a tool. Using the right tools can help. And when Lauren and I were first married, counselor Dan Schaefer, we met with him as we were navigating some of the different challenges we were going through in our marriage. And he gave us this conflict framework on how to have conversations when you're in conflict. If you're on our app, we actually have a printable PDF version that looks a little bit like this. It may sound a little detailed, but it just helps walk you through how to prepare for or how to listen to a conversation where somebody is bringing something up that is challenging. And there are really two parties. There's the person that's bringing up the issue, and then there's the person that needs to listen to the issue. And so I want to talk through both sides. I know at some of our services I didn't have time to walk through that, and I said I would do that on the app. And we actually have an online tool that you can use. The link is in the video description below. But you're either the person bringing up the issue or you're listening. The first challenge we get into is when both people start bringing up issues and then it becomes the crazy cycle. There is no restoration when you're just unloading on each other all of the problems that you've had. So let's start with the person. Let's imagine you have something to bring up to a coworker, a spouse, a child, a sibling. The first thing that you need to pay attention to is the setup. You need to set aside some time. Your job is to make sure that you are first set up to have the conversation, which you may need to process with someone. You may need to sit down, but the goal is to go, what is the real issue that I'm trying to deal with? Like, what is the root issue? What is the problem that I feel like I need to solve? That is your job, to make sure that you can communicate that as clearly as possible. It is not to vent. It's not to put them in their place. It's not to bring like the kitchen sink, here are the 42,000 things that you never get right. No, instead, it's here's what I've observed. Here's the event that happened. Or it may be a pattern that I've noticed. Over the last 3 weeks, I've noticed that you tend to be blank. Here are some phrases to avoid. Over the last 3 weeks, you've made me feel like whatever. Fill in the description there. Talking about how you made me feel puts the listener on the defensive. What's more helpful is to say, hey, over the last few weeks, I've really found myself wanting to feel more positive. What is the positive from you? And it's been challenging. Here's the pattern that I've noticed. And so in your setup, what's the real issue? How can you talk about it in non-combative ways, clear but non-combative ways? And what are 2 or 3, not that they're going to do all of them, 2 or 3 different ways you think we could resolve the issue? 2 or 3 different solutions. That's your job in the setup. And once you feel like you have that down, then you are ready to look at the other person, text the other person, message the other person, and say, hey, would you let me know when it would be a good time for us to meet? The language that Dan Schaefer gave us is, hey, I need to set an appointment. And so once the person bringing up the issue has worked through all of that, and their job is to communicate to the listener, hey, I need to sit down and share something with you. So let's switch. Let's imagine you're the person that hears from someone that they need to set an appointment. Your job is to then find a time within a reasonable few days where you are emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally ready to listen. Sometimes I want to just resolve the conflict right away, but I'm tired. It's like 9 o'clock at night. I'm not in good mental space to listen. So my job is to look at my calendar and go, I'll be ready tomorrow, right after dinner, after I've been fed, after I've connected, after I've done work. I'm not in work mode. After dinner at like 6:30, let's sit down. 7 o'clock, let's sit down and I'll be ready for the appointment. And then my job is to make sure I do all that I can beforehand to be ready to listen. That's my job on the setup. That setup is more important than you realize. Then, when it comes time for the sit down, the actual conversation, the person bringing up the issue, your job is to walk through the points that you've already kind of talked about as clearly and as compassionately as you can. You're not, again, trying to put them on blast. Can it be emotional? Yes, oftentimes it is. But what you want to do is the goal is restoration. So you want to talk about it. You want to lay out the solutions. The sit down for the listener is to put on Teflon, meaning I'm not letting all of this stick to me. And I'm going to reflect back what I hear the other person saying. Hey, what I hear you saying is when over the last few weeks, you just felt like you would love to have had more of my attention or whatever, more patience from me or whatever. Is that right? The goal at the end of the sit down is the person bringing up the issue feels seen and heard, and the person listening feels like they've been offered a choice of a few different ways to resolve the issue. That's when you know you've completed that well. Then you get down to the solution. And that's where the listener then commits to or decides which next step they are able to commit to that will move towards restoration. It may be a couple of the options that the person bringing it up brought. It may be another thing that you kind of process through together that feels like it's doable for both parties. All right? And once the solution is agreed upon, and that solution may be, we need to bring somebody else in to talk about this. Listen, I see your perspective, but I don't know that we are going to be able to solve this, just the two of us. Who would you feel comfortable bringing in, right? Like there's all sorts of solutions at that point, and then pray together. The goal is to use this framework tool to help you have the difficult conversations when you need to go privately. And my hope is that it will be as helpful for you in your marriage, in your family, potentially with some conversations you need to have with employees, employers, or whatever, schoolmates. If you can keep this approach in mind, it will help you live out the James 2 passage. I think it's in James 2, which is be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. We're going to listen, but we're also going to be slow to speak. We're not just going to vent all of the things that frustrate us. No, we want to approach conflict, which is really important, not by stuffing it, not by ignoring it, but also not by giving it full vent, but instead with the right approach and the right framework so that it gets us to the goal that we all want, which is more restoration. And so my hope is that this is as helpful for you, as I've said, as it was for my wife and I, and for me as a leader and as a parent. And thanks. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to verbally walk through all of that. We'll see you.